Hello, beloveds. It's Metaluna coming at you with some Omega energy. We had one hell of a full moon in Gemini, did we not? Oh, child, I dug up some deep shadow energy from that. And when our babies and I were talking today, when I say my babies, I could be talking about my children, I could be talking about my clients and one of my students. It don't matter, but it's just one of my babies. One of my babies and I were talking today about the concepts that religion has taught us over time. This might be deep or it might just be surface level. I don't know how deep I want to get with this, but we'll see. And he was telling me that he got some downloads about the different concepts of religion and that it's more of a concept in thinking. And he was talking about the idea of Satan or Lucifer and Jesus and how that those concepts came into being. He's trying to understand them and how they apply to modern day life in a lot of ways. And I'm listening to him like, yeah, baby, I was there. I was there. I know exactly where you're going with it. And the way he was talking to me, and this happens a lot, at least in my experience, it's happened a lot, especially when you're going outside of what is considered the norm in spirituality, and that includes religion, and actually thinking of concepts for yourself without someone else directing your thoughts about them. Okay, you can say things like, wait a minute, the math thing, and I have questions about this, and I'd like to say them out loud, but I don't want nobody thinking negatively about me or treating me negatively because I have a different thought process than everybody else on this particular topic. The way I feel about it is, I used to feel about it is I just keep it to myself, and when they ask me questions, well, I know I'm going to delineate away from the norm. I'm going to go outside of the norm. I'm at the very tip of the bell curve. I just look at them like this. Or at least I used to just look at them like, and they're literally talking to me, and I just be like, why? Because my experiences taught me up to that time, from little knee-high to a flea up until now, my experiences taught me that people are going to react negatively to my truth. That's what my experiences taught me. And then that reaction to my truth, I'm going to have a visceral reaction, whether it be actual saying something back that's like argumentative, or I'm going to get my feelings hurt, or I'm going to have to leave that person alone because now they've said something that's, just diminishes me in some way. So I choose not to engage on that level. I'm on a whole nother level now. So if you disagree with me, I'm cool with it. Can we hang out and have a conversation and still enjoy each other's company? I don't care what you think about what I think anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. Not even a little bit. Only thing I care about is whether or not you're gonna treat me well, and I've never seen you just outright mistreat other people and not give a damn about that. That's fine. Okay. So with that, his questioning of the doctrine and the gospels in such a way, it's like, wait a minute, if Jesus said he's the morning star and the morning star is also associated with Satan, aren't they the same guy? I was like, it's possible, but we wasn't that sugar. It's like, but don't you know, like, he didn't say this, but he's like gesturing. Don't you know the answer to this? Whether I do or not is irrelevant. Now, if you listen to this video and what I'm about to say after this, nothing else. When I say nothing else I got to say and nobody else in the spiritual community got to say does matter. It don't. If you can listen, absorb, understand what I'm about to say, that's all you need for your spiritual journey. Now, I'm not going to say other things are not helpful, because other things are helpful, okay? Other knowledge is helpful. But what I'm about to say is all you need. I mean, I'm going to still come on here on Mondays, most likely, and talk my talk and walk my walk. But what I'm about to say is going to cut a lot of bullshit and foolishness out. Okay? Okay. And it's akin to, like, I may not need rose petals and a scented candle, a glass of wine, and all kind of other herbs and smell goods in my water when I take my spiritual bath. I might not need all that. I might just need some bubble bath and just some hot water. But the rest of that stuff does make it a little bit easier. So with that, take that to mean you may not need everything else. This is just your bake, your plain cake without the icing and frosting. Okay? What if you were self governed? And what I mean by that is, what if you did not have dogmatic religions, Abrahamic religions, telling you what to do and how to do it? Would you be able to be self governable? Would you understand that stealing steals not just from you, but your community? I mean, not just from the person you're stealing from, but also your community. Would you understand that the harm you cause is the harm you're causing yourself long term and around? Would you understand that even if you didn't understand that in a complex way, you understood that you don't want it done to you and you don't think that that's a nice thing to do, so you choose not to do it? Would you understand that without the threat of punishment down the road or heaven and hell? Would you be able to govern yourself if you've given yourself governable steps and tools? Become self governable. If nobody told you it was against the law to murder somebody, would you be out there murdering? Like that movie, The Purge, I never got into that. I never watched a single one. I understand the concepts, and my kids, when they were teenagers, enjoyed that, and I was very concerned that they was enjoying those movies. I still to this day don't understand that. I've never watched one. But the movie The Purge was, I guess the concept is, you just make the world lawless and people just do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. And a lot of that was harming, maiming, killing, pillaging, that sort of thing. And I think that that's not true for human beings in general. And people are like, yeah, it is. It's only because, and this is my opinion, now this little snippet about humankind is subjective. And that means it's my opinion. It is my opinion that we are constantly fed the concepts that human beings are awful in general, when it's just like a few that are awful. When I say a few, I don't mean literally three. I mean like a smaller majority are awful. Their awfulness bleeds down to everybody else and it creates an existence in which everybody by proxy feels awful due to their awfulness. Okay? But in general, it has been my experience. Now this is an objective story with a subjective opinion. It's been my experience. I've been in situations in which I was in areas that was obvious. There was a lot of, and we gonna know what I'm talking about when I say this. American flags and Trump flags, and flags that indicate snakes with yellow black backgrounds. Okay, but in those areas, I break down my car. They'll stop on the side of the road and help me and say, "Yes, ma'am. How you doing, ma'am?" There's a general decency, even if we disagree about concepts of reality. Human beings are still capable of decency. As a matter of fact, there's a healthy majority of people living in the South, especially Louisiana, that I have had commune with, I've had meals with, that hold concepts that are different than my view on reality in general, that have been some of the most decent human beings to me. And they are fully aware of how I feel about things. I do not mince words, but I don't insult them with it, though. And I think that's the difference. But just being self governable does not mean that your mind is the same mind as someone else's mind. To me, that's hive mindedness. And I think that is an antithesis of progress, especially when it pertains to evolution. But that's my little opinion, and I'm done with opinion parts on this part. Let's go back to baking a simple cake as it pertains to your evolution mentally, your evolution, even physically, if you choose within your governing path to create such a path that includes your physicality. Okay? The only person that you are beholden to is yourself. Do you think human beings, and specifically you, are capable of governing yourself in such a way that you're not required to have fear installed so that you can behave like you're a part of the society and a community. Now, a lot of people might think because we've been fed this for so long that human beings are inherently awful. They're not. Some of them are. And I hear the word narcissist get thrown around a lot. And sometimes for people that don't understand the terminology, because not all narcissists are terrible people. Some of them just get shit done. And I've experienced both ends of that spectrum. Okay? Everything in life is a spectrum. You know, I say, this person is such a kind and sweet and honest and decent person. I guarantee you that person has a nightmarish part of their aspect of themselves that is on a spectrum. And the part that you see is the sweet, nice, wholesome version of it. Okay? Just keep that in mind. But I digress. I do that from time to time. Please accept my apologies. But becoming self-governable means that you have created some cobblestones. And each cobblestone is going to direct an area of your life that you choose it to be. And you stay within that. Understanding that you're going to have a prime directive area before you do everything else. The prime directive area is, I won't hurt myself and I will not intentionally hurt anybody else. Before starting any kind of the next cobblestone, start there. And this is where you become self-governable. I need you to explore every single aspect of what it means not to hurt yourself and not to hurt other people. Because that is too stark, is it not? So what does that mean for you? What it can mean for you? Now, let me say, I'm not going to hurt myself. Let's start there. Hurting yourself can be drinking excessive amounts of alcohol or anything in excess, food, anything like that. And if you've decided that you're not going to hurt yourself, you haven't decided that you're not going to drink any alcohol at all, because some people do that because they know they will go to the nth degree. They have difficulty with that portion control with alcohol. And those that call themselves addicts, I don't subscribe to that concept. I know. But I don't subscribe to the concept that someone can be an addict and that's who they are forever. I don't subscribe to that. I feel like in a lot of ways, the words we're using to label things literally cast a spell over us, and we choose to believe that spell for life, and that's what we're stuck in. And I don't think people deserve to be stuck in things that are a result of reaction, trauma, whatever the deal is. But again, I digress. For that first cobblestone, you got to figure out what is harmful to you. Because in each, some things that are harmful to one person is not harmful to the next. See, I don't have a problem with a comedian saying comedic things about race, sexuality, and none of that stuff. Okay? Now, it depends on the degree in which they're going, and if it's obvious they're making light of a serious situation, because we can find the humor in just about anything when we really think about it, or they're actually trying to be malicious, because some, they're trying to be malicious. You can tell the difference. But if they're not overtly trying to be malicious and I can have discernment about that, then I'm staying. I'm going to enjoy this comedian saying whatever this comedian is saying. Okay? But for somebody else that might be incredibly sensitive to that, they can know harm means right now in this moment, I need to not go see that. So they're going to go see that. But they don't try to force somebody else to not go see that, because that's not harmful to them. You might say, well, what if it's harmful to an entire community? Okay, so we can figure out ways within that to allow people to self-govern. Because me making funny about this is not going to change or not change that. You can have an equal voice on the other side that's equally funny and decide that they have a dissent or a dissenting opinion about that. That's what politics is really supposed to be about anyway. It's us having dissenting opinions and differing opinions without actually causing harm to one another. But again, I digress. Not harming yourself can also be, like I said, I decided I want 2 glasses of scotch because sis loves us old aged scotch. Single malt, 12-year or more is preferable if you ever want to give me a gift. But I'm not going to drink the entire bottle. Because at one point in my life, I could. And it wasn't like I liked being drunk or anything like that. Because at one point in my life, I couldn't even really get drunk. I'd have to drink at hospitalization amount of alcohol to get drunk. And then I wouldn't stay that way. It would last for a little while. But then my body would just pop it up like most people do when you get alcohol poisoning. And that would just be the end of it. I wouldn't get a hangover or nothing. It was just that. So for me, I was not a cheap date. But nowadays, I choose to govern myself in such a way where I'm like, okay, 2 or 3 at the max. And then I'm going chill at my own house, or I'm just going to nurse these 3 because I'm choosing a different vibration right now, or my body's choosing for me because both of them things is present with me. Anyway, I'm not going to hurt myself can also be in that first cobblestone, that I'm not going to engage in or do anything that I know is going to have ramifications of negativity for me. And that's like would be a hangover if I overdrink, right? That first cobblestone is like you get to be held, you hold your own self accountable. So in that same vein, let's keep with the alcohol metaphor. In that same vein, you will also say, I don't get to have the excuse that I was drunk in order for me to get away with doing something I know is hurtful to myself and other people. You being drunk is not an excuse because you held yourself accountable. If you know you can't handle more than 5 drinks, then you don't drink more than 5 drinks. And anything you have over 5 drinks and anything you do after those times, you take full accountability for, and don't make the excuse that you was drunk. You just take accountability for it and say, next time I'm not going to do that. Forgive yourself, because it's okay to forgive yourself. And then make amends wherever you need to make amends at. Because that first stone, you've decided that I am completely self-governable and I'm not going to harm myself and I'm not going to intentionally harm anybody else. So if you know you get drunk beyond good reasoning skills after the 4th drink, you never have any after the 4th drink because you've decided in that first cobblestone that you're not going to cause harm to anybody else. You hear me? Okay? We don't get to complain about, I was drunk and they mad at me. I was drunk. How am I supposed to know? Yeah, you're supposed to know because you're self-governed. So you decided to do that. This seems simple, right? And it's very simple. That first stone is just, I'm not going to hurt me and I'm not going to hurt you intentionally. Now, does that mean you can unintentionally hurt someone? You can unintentionally hurt someone. And you have to discern within that if your intentions were good and they took it the wrong way, okay, try once if you care what they think, to give them a little bit of sauce and be like, look, here was my intention. If they insist on still being mad at you about that, forgive yourself and move on, honey. Forgive yourself and move on. Never linger too long in a negative emotion. That is self-harm. We're not doing that. The next cobblestone. How do you want to look, feel, express yourself? And that's in a physical sense, honey. How do I want to look, feel, and express myself? What does that look like for me? No matter what nobody else's input says, this is how I want to feel and express myself. And sometimes you might need a little help with that. But if you don't, and you figure out what that looks like for you, then go ahead and do that. For example, once you've educated yourself enough about how you want to not hurt yourself or anybody else, you got to figure out, okay, so what's the least amount of harm for me? I'll use myself as an example. What's the least amount of harm I can do and still look fly? Well, I know I don't want to keep buying clothes over and over and over again. Because a lot of the clothes come from sweatshops. A lot of the clothes come from slave labor. And whatever, even those that don't come from slave labor, a lot of the clothing that are created right now are being made with chemicals and things that I don't want touching my skin and absorbing into my body, nor absorbing into nature. So how do I reconcile that? Well, I decided in this particular cobblestone to mix the blend of two and to be following both of those laws for myself, because these are cobblestones that are simple. And it's going to look different for each person, but this is how it looks for me. I'm just giving you the guidebook to how to get there, right? Make your own cake, honey. I'm making mine. So I don't buy clothes. It's very rare that I buy clothes. It has to be a specific event, and I'm buying one outfit. Even if it's like I'll go to a convention and I'll just mix and match the clothes I got or repatch or whatever to keep myself from contributing to excess. I choose that for me, but I'm always gonna look fly because I know I always want to look good. And if I can't find something that is unique to that event, that is very specific or something like that, then I choose to go buy something. But I'm gonna have that outfit for years and years and years to come. And I'm gonna keep patching it up or making it look nice as long as it's able to look nice. Now I don't keep rags, child. I turn them into rags when they start turning into rags. Or I donate it once I feel like, okay, it's got enough wearing out of it. But donate, I don't throw it away if I can manage it. And this is the way I've chosen to govern myself in that way as it comes to my style. Now, this can get we can be very simple or very complex, but for me, I choose to look at the particulars. And the next step, how do I want to love? Emotionally non romantic and emotionally romantic. And then I decide what that looks like for me, what feels right to me. Now this part can be crucial for especially a woman. I know what I do want, I know what I don't want. So I'm not gonna treat anybody how I don't want to be treated, but I'm not gonna let them treat me no any type of way either. Understanding that lack does not live here, and I'd rather be alone than be in lack. So I govern myself by a set of rules in this cobblestone. How I'm going to allow someone to treat me, how I'm not going to allow them to treat me, and I don't deviate from it. I don't care how good they can dance. If you don't treat me right, get out my face. Get out my face yesterday. And it's not in a, I don't, I'm not mean or ugly about it. I just like, yeah, no, you're not for me. And I'm good. And I keep it moving. That's the cobblestone for me. There's not a person, religion, dogma, nothing that is telling me what these cobblestones are going to look like. I'm choosing them for myself. And then I look at nature and look at children and realize that children deserve so much more than they've gotten from civilizations before now. And I've decided that children are going to be, one of my stones is that children are going to be the pinnacle of, if I'm going to in any way service the world and have a hierarchy, children are the top of that hierarchy to me. Now, it don't have to be for you. You don't even have to have a hierarchy. You don't even have to have that stone, but I choose to have that stone. Mostly because, I don't know, it seems right. It feels right to my soul. And anytime I am helping a child do anything, it's like a light comes on. I feel like I'm being with there's this meme that goes around from time to time that says, you're probably the person you would have felt safe with when you were little. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there wasn't many people I felt safe with when I was little. And I choose to always be that person for little people. Okay? For me, that warms up my heart. And I think it's healing something inside of me. And I feel like I'm gonna keep on doing that. So that's one of my cobblestones. Yours could be something different. What I'm telling you is the recipe of understanding that even if you learn nothing in spirituality, even if you learn nothing in dogmatic and Abrahamic religions, if you set these cobblestones for yourself and choose not to deviate and choose to govern yourself in such a way where you are responsible, then you know what? This world as it is right now will start to change. You might say, well, what about all the people who are not doing that? We can't really concern ourselves too much with them other than to beat their ass when their ass need to be beaten only when necessary. Otherwise, we live in a happy life with our own narrow pathway. Because I can tell you, when creating this, the only way to create this in such a way that is effective for you and govern your life is to make sure that it's narrow. Fuck boys can't come in there. I mean, no offense, fuck boys. If your pathway is filled with whatever fuckboys put on their pathways, it's whatever. Because we're not judging the fuckboys, we're understanding we don't want that. And sometimes you might want that, okay? But you know what that is. And you're like, okay, today I'm eating fast food. But I know, generally speaking, I'm not. This is a treat. I don't mean no offense, bro. What I just said, I just realized how it could have come across and be offensive. But I don't mean nothing by that, okay? But that's just an example of like we're we're structuring our own paths to understand that you don't require worship. Now, if you feel like you want worship and that makes you feel good, let that be one of your cobblestones. Okay? It don't have to be all that though. It's been my experience. And I think, and I know he's controversial right now, and I don't care. Because some of y'all really need to examine your judgmental skills because you're being fed a lot of things. And this is just my little opinion that, not necessarily opinion, in fact, really. They're not necessarily true. But this part of one of his songs that made me really laugh because that's kind of how I govern myself as I've been growing in knowledge. It's like we don't I forget which song it was, but he's like he don't know who's the good and who's the evil. I'm talking about Kanye West in one of his songs. He don't know which one is good and which one is evil, so he poked that motherfucker sideways. And what that means is like if you don't know whether or not the God of the Bible is a narcissistic kid with an ant farm or not, or whether it's a benevolent being as you're being told. You don't know that. But you know something's going on in the ethers or in other dimensions, maybe. But you also see suffering on this plane. It's like if good things is up there, then why is there so much suffering? You're like, well, you have to be good to live a good life and get blessings, but there's children out here getting hurt and harmed and maimed in this world. And then somebody else from some Hinduist religion or something like that might tell you, well, that's their karma in this life. But why should we even have karma? Why is karma necessary? And then when you ask these type of questions, you start to think, well, something ain't benevolent. Benevolence is malevolent, which is two different things. One's an M and one's a B. And you don't know what that something is. But you know you can govern yourself. You may not be able to get over there to figure that all out. But I can tell you there's a lot going on that we don't know about. And it's not found in all of the books because, a lot of them have been taken out. But that's a story for another day. If you consider that if you take all those ideas of rules and this and that and the other and how you get blessings is this and how you get blessings is that, it's like, well, then you're leaving out a whole swath of people. Because I have had the experience of sitting next to the homeless and having them be some of the most genuinely decent human beings I've ever met in my life. Then why are they homeless? Why are there homeless children right now? Why is the foster care system such that when you age out of the system, there's no safety net for you. And a lot of those children end up on the streets on drugs or prostitutes. I was just saying, for example, I was like, I heard it. It's like I felt the vibration. Somebody, you questioning God? Look, don't come here with that. This is not the place for it. I have no fear of God. None whatsoever. The fear that's in the book, and you might disagree with me that you can have fear of God on your path if you want. That's the thing. It's your path. You can have fear of God. I choose not to have fear of that concept. And I'm good on that. You might say, well, you're an atheist. Also, no. And it's like, well, my path is such a way where I don't need either one of those concepts, even if I have an understanding of them, to govern myself and decide what I am and not going to be. So, well, how you can be successful in life is being happy and accepting of yourself on your own path, and also accept when you've done something wrong and try to fix it, make amends, but also to forgive yourself. Because that's one of the parts that I forget a lot. I don't forgive myself for stuff I didn't even do. Oh man, my friends can tell you some stories. I've been sitting there just ruminating, like, what can I do to make it better? And they're like, but you didn't do anything wrong. But I feel like I did because they don't like me or they mad at me and they're like, what is wrong with you? The empathy was to the lunacy side. And I'm getting much better at that. That's why I say, To this day, I'm like, anybody who I've ever cussed out or beat their ass or dragged them for filth, no. Just know they had to do a lot to get me to a place where I realized they was the problem. Because I blame me for everything. I've gotten better at not doing that, but also limiting my space to people who treat me well and continuously do that. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be perfect. This is another one of my cobblestones. I feel like everybody should take this one. Only allow people to continuously be within your space and that your energy, texting, calling, being around you, that are consistently treating you well, and you ain't got to question their loyalty. Not even for a second. The moment their loyalty can be questioned, that is the moment you start backing away. Do you cut them off necessarily? No. I'm good at the cutoff game. I will slice that bee. But cut them off once they show you, even if they show the signs they can be disloyal. Once they are disloyal or in some way backstabby, be okay with cutting off. So that means that we have to get rid of our codependencies in this stone completely and utterly. I know Aquariuses become natural with the detachment, don't we? Let me tell you something that nobody else gonna tell you. No, we do not. What we have is ability to compartmentalize while we're still attached to you. In a way that nobody else has been able to, I guess, express like an Aquarius can. Oh no, we feel that codependency down deep down. We still miss people. We still feel the feeling of love and compassion towards people. But we figure out fairly quickly that they ain't for us and they're trying to hurt us over and over again and decide, I don't want to sign up for that no more. And then we don't. So it's not heartless to love yourself. It's actually full of heart. The more I love me is the more I can love somebody else who's worthy of that love. That's the way I feel about it. It took me a little while to perfect that, but I think I got it down pat at this point. Anyway, I've been yammering on for over 30 minutes, so hopefully somebody got something out of this. And I'll decide whether I want to come back on here and do a second video. But honey, I haven't eaten today. I've been working and cooking. And so I'm going to enjoy my meal. If you'd like some and one-on-one instruction on any of the esoteric subject matters that I have here, if you want to learn about tarot, if you want to learn about astrology, you'd like a comfort person for yourself or your kiddos, you want to learn de-escalation tactics, things like this, and even if you would like me to speak at your organization so we can learn some things, I do have some levels of knowledge of meditation, de-escalation, as well as solution-focused problem solving. Anyway, description below. Your love.